The session looks in this session into finance as a service solutions in 2024. Burcu Küçükünal from Akbank, Emre Ölçer from Türkiye İş Bankası, and Sinem Cantürk from KPMG Turkey are joining as panelists. Please join me while we are welcoming our panelists to the stage. While our panelists are taking their seats, let me give you a heads up on social media posts. If you wish to share your experience in Istanbul Fintech Week, we have prepared the Click to Tweet application for you. Simply visit the IFW website or watch the coffee break screens, scan the QR code there and check out the tweets we have prepared for you. Thank you ve Demet Hanım buyurunuz.
Çok teşekkürler.
Sağ olun.
Welcome. Well, this event wouldn't be possible had it not been for you. I want to thank you a lot for your invaluable contributions, and I will be picking up from where I left off, and I'm going to start posing and asking my questions to you. Burcu, let's start with you. When it comes to corporate banking and retail banking, what kind of changes have you experienced? Well, I mean, in the last decade, we have experienced many of these changes together, but how would you like to evaluate them? What do you think about the past? And I'm going to come to the future after that, about what kind of a digital transformation journey was that for you at Akbank? Good morning, everyone. We experienced all these changes together, but it was more like a closed-loop system, and there were some individual efforts undertaken by banks. And fintechs and banks wanted to experiment open innovation methods, and this is how we have shaped the ecosystem that we have at hand right now. Yes, we're talking about digital transformation, but maybe we are also undermining the very concept, because when I talk about transformation, I'm talking about the transformation of the entire ways of doing business, the way that we interact with customers and the way that we treat the contact points. I am talking about transformation on our sides and on the side of customer as well. So part of these 10 years involved mobile banking alternative distribution channels. And looking at where we are right now, the frequency of us touching customers is much higher. I'm talking about Akbank, but the banking industry and fintechs in Turkey have reached great maturity levels, digital maturity levels. Money 2020 and similar events are some events where we do presentations and we receive similar questions after these presentations. First, they're wondering if they're truly digital. Onboarding included? Yes, onboarding included. End-to-end, all processes are digital. How many people are you using, for example, special AI projects? And we say 2 people work on a single AI project, and they're shocked, they're surprised to hear that. So we have started to communicate with one another more frequently. A banking app, for example, what can you do with a banking app? This was our mindset in the past, but now we have some 40 interactions in a month, and we're not only talking about social media, and this is not really a gaming app that you would use for fun only, but the frequency and increasing the frequency of interaction is important, and we are using smart methods. We're not boring the customers. There are the algorithms, over 200 algorithms working in the background, and we're doing it in a simplified manner, in the smart manner. And how can we really introduce this to customers? And this is what we really think about as we develop the experience for the customers. And technology has been very useful. Customers have been demanding, and customers have been open. We're very lucky for that. We have a customer base, and they're very young, they're very dynamic. And when we launch an app, we add a new module and we start hearing comments, and because before us, customers start to experience and experiment with the app, and this is an incredible opportunity for us. And on the side of technology, blockchain-driven, AI-driven works have been carried out, and we are spending efforts and we're spending money for that as well. But we will talk about that because this will be the topic of the future. And I'm posing the same question to İşbank as well. Thank you. Thank you. Burcu has started with a good introduction. How to really explain these past 10 years? It was a huge technology leap for us and technology transformation. It was something that added speed to life and that also addressed customers' expectations. And the past 10 years of the banks have been all about us adapting to technology transformation as well. We adapted ourselves to the concepts that were new in our lives as well. So this goes for the banking industry as well. I'm talking about İşbank here. And the data quality and architecture has been enhanced. Customer experience was the central spot for us, and organizational changes were introduced. For example, customer analytics have become an area where we started working on, and we also created value for customers. And this is basically the summary of the past decade. And mobile is the main channel. It is beyond being an alternative. And 15.5 million digital customers we have. And İşCep is 17 years of age right now, and Turkey's first mobile banking app. In a single day, 6 million customers visit us individually. So you can't really have the luxury of remaining static. 700 different functions are present in the application within our own mobile banking app. So the core banking components are being consumed a lot, but the experience is also on the very front line of everything. In the same manner, technology is reaching its new heights, and structures are being disrupted, and they're being pushed. All the banks are being pushed to change themselves as well. So competition has been replaced by collaboration as well, and value chains have come to the fore as well. AI, for example, generative AI has become a trending topic, and AI is shaping customers' expectations. Blockchain has found a place for itself. Its technology may be a bit outdated, but crypto assets and tokenization scenarios, we're talking about that. We're talking about central bank currency. So blockchain has found a very good place for itself as well. And the banks have basically understood the gist of it, and they were able to transform themselves. This is how they positioned themselves so that they could address customers' expectations as well. And we're talking about these examples, but new examples will be unveiled. We will see new service model banking. Service model banking will be launched quite soon, and platforms, prominent platforms in Turkey will be collaborating with one another. So we will be processing these new trends, and this is what we did in the past 10 years. You may not seem to be a banking industry player, but you are working in integration with them. So I would like to hear from you as well. So I am on this stage with the leaders of the two prominent banks in Turkey, and you have explained it very well. And I wanted to change the perspective a bit. This transformation, I will address it from the perspective of what really triggered and what really pushed this transformation. At KPMG, at global and local level, we carry out many surveys, and sometimes we collaborate with your company as well, so you closely monitor it. And this transformation in the digital realm was triggered recently by customer experience, as you mentioned, because we're talking about differentiating customer experience that has been enriched a lot. I don't want to repeat the previous speakers right now, but in the past, the banking operation was all about conducting a procedure, doing it with security, and covering certain costs. And this was the experience that we expected. But as we are carrying out the same procedure today, we want to do it. We want to do it with security. We want to do it with zero cost. And we want to do it in a much more enriched manner when it comes to the experience. We want to do it in integration with other platforms. And we also want this to be supported by data analytics. And we sometimes even want to evade any interaction with the bank. We want to feel as though we're not really working with the bank, and we want to use other platforms. And this is a question that we ask in surveys, the best customer experience outside of finance. For example, sometimes they say retail companies, sometimes they cite technology companies. And the best experience where it is lived, for example, it could be Apple. So the experience lived at Apple, they want to see it in the banking industry, an industry which is quite complicated. So this is basically what the transformation is all about, and it has entailed that as well. Yes, technology, transformation, AI, solutions, automation, we have all talked about these, but maybe 5 years ago, certain bottlenecks that we faced and how we wanted to solve them, for example, we didn't know, but we now have all the tools, and we are in an environment where we're able to materialize everything that we have imagined. So the second trigger was technology transformation as well. And third trigger was about that I always come down to regulations in my speeches, and people tend to treat me as a banker, people tend to treat me as a regulator, but I always think about responsible innovation and transformation as well. Yes, there will be many points of criticisms for us, so that's for sure, but I think we're quite lucky as well. So a service model banking, interface providing, digital onboarding, remote ID, authentic ID recognition and facial recognition. Yes, we are capable of doing everything. We can get licenses, we can work, and digital banking, we've heard from Erkan. So the groundwork is ready, and we just need the step, and regulation is a trigger and driving force for us.
Absolutely. Proactive approaches not only facilitate your work, and it helps grow the industry. And actually, you've been working together for a long time, and you're enriching your environment, but obviously the state contribution is very, very important because they pave the way for development. So actually, I want to talk about also the pains of the digital transformation journey, because that's the fact. But, you know, there are things that happen in the background, maybe the next decade, but the decade could be very long. What about the next 3 years or 5 years? Because along with AI, I believe that it's been very, very fast. Even the momentum has sped up. So we're in this accelerated mode, and maybe we cannot predict the next decade, but what kind of steps do you want to take in the next 3 to 5 years? What technologies will be in the forefront? What kind of a transformation is in the pipeline for you? Actually, the journey that we just started talking about is carrying on. We are in the midst of it, so we don't know where we are and what kind of time has passed. But let me put it this way. Just like Emre said, mobile main channel is what we're still engaged with, but we also have relations with interfaces, and there are points of contact where we contact our customers. So we have frictionless, simple, and smart experience for the users, and we have to do that. Just for example, what kind of app you have on your phone is what you expect from us. So you don't compare us to banks. So those industrial separations are blurring. That's how we are transforming our business models. In relationable verticals, we now have new ecosystems. Sometimes you have the bank in the forefront, sometimes you have the retail side. So whatever is more meaningful for the customer, we have a new project for them. And in some places, our customers don't really feel what's happening. So for example, in the up-to-date mobile version was 5 years ago for us. So we have an innovation center, and for the last 8 years, it has been working with the model that I'm just going to talk about. and is producing stuff. So there are lots of services that you use, but in the background of it all, Akbank's partners and fintechs are engaged in the work that you see the services of. And those solutions, the customers are not even feeling about. So it's not about just looking inward and working on your own. That's not the approach that we have. I believe that in the upcoming term, borders will be even further lifted. So in certain verticals, that's what's happening. But then in the finance industry, you have payments, but you have it everywhere where you have a commercial relationship. So for example, we see mobility IoT solutions that have been increasing a lot in the healthcare industry or in, for example, housing or automobile necessities are now carried out, now addressed with apps. And with that, we have increased interaction. And various technologies bring in new approaches. Tokenization, for example, Emre mentioned, we have tokenization efforts as well. The regulation is supporting us as well, and we work together. We are talking about this ecosystem in which we have enterprises, institutions, and regulators. So we work together to identify the needs and then produce solutions. So we have an open relationship. So digital onboarding, for instance, when we introduced that, it affected our way of doing business. And at the same time, in terms of customer flow and profitability, it impacted these areas a lot. So for example, in terms of customer acquisition, we have about 60% increase in digital onboarding. And now we have that in institutional, in corporate customers as well. So we have the interaction on the digital side, we have this ecosystem, and different technologies are now at the heart of our life. And it's going to be even faster in the short run, I believe. We're going to have them even more in our lives. And I'd like to talk about our working model. We have an innovation center and plays a certain role. A fintech company or a technology enterprise uses a governance model to remove frictions in operations. So whatever the friction is in terms of legal work or paperwork, they have a governance model that's very well established. So we work with local and global partners, and we've had a chance to test these models. We have about 11 to 12 million active customer base, and you have a chance to test and pivot your work. And we have very fast onboarding of proof of concept, for example. And more than 40 initiatives have been live so far. And I think that's going to be even faster in the short run, because we have improved our muscles, and I guess working with fintechs also helps you build your muscles. Because when we first started talking about these about 7 years ago, we said, well, onboarding processes were a question mark, and we didn't know how to work with fintech companies, and we even said it's impossible to work with them. But no, we're open to everything. Our door is open to everything. We do it. We managed to do it. Obviously, open banking has a chance to offer so many different use cases. And then you need to have an open approach to make sure that you add value to the customer at the end of the day. If you well establish this approach, then you carry on. Demanding customer base is very important. And that's very, very important, because whatever we put out there, we do have an answer by our customers. And we have a customer demand that's always up and going, and we have a regulatory base that on which we build our work. And we really need to tap into what's happening and consider the next 3 to 5 years within this perspective. Sinem and Burcu really touched upon very important points. We're talking about a massive transformation, and it started with our daily life, with people's individual lives. So we've started with retail banking, all those changes, but then in commercial banking, lots of concepts came into play, like blockchain technologies, invisible banking. So we now see a reshaping of the commercial life around us too. To us, when we think of what kind of banks are we going to have in the future, here's how we answer the question. Customer demands will be in the forefront. We won't just offer financial services and products, but we're going to offer more value beyond that. And we'll have different platforms on which we'll offer products and services. And banks will no longer be just brick and mortar. They will exist with an easy access to customers wherever the customers are, with a frictionless experience. So we'll have customized financial solutions built on the demands of the customer. And it will also have commonalities with the values of individual bankers. So this is what we envision in terms of future of banking. And we are preparing ourselves for that vision at Akbank. When we think of mobile trends that are the main players right now, customers are acquired on a 50% level on digital channels. But then in the future, we'll talk about platform banking in areas where customers spend time. We will exist with financial services where on a single screen, we'll have interfaces that will offer those services. Just like I've said, this year, service banking will be tested throughout the year, and it's just around the corner. We started a partnership with Getir, the delivery company in Turkey, last year. Obviously, we also need to wait for the approval of the Banking Regulatory Authority. If our project is approved, we're going to have our services offered through Getir on a wider platform, much wider platform. I'd like to emphasize one thing. Professor Ilber Ortaylı yesterday mentioned this. Banks have been around for thousands of years, but we are going to, in the future, talk about services wherever the customer is. We'll find ourselves turning granular. That's why fintech ecosystems are very important in this very area. And for about 8 years, in our innovation centers and with other investments in the entrepreneurial system, we have been involved in this, and we have proof of concept work, and we're producing value with fintech companies. So we have lots of collaborations with them, with the fintech companies. We're beyond worrying about competition because we're moving towards a world in which, unless we go together, we won't live on, we won't survive. We believe that with the project that we have with a fintech company, we work together to reach SMEs. United Payment, an important fintech company, we started a strategic partnership with them, and United Payment and Mokar have been joining forces. Our goal is to make sure that next-gen digital solutions are onboarded faster in Turkey with e-wallet solutions. And globally speaking, we want to make sure that unicorns come into play. So the future of banking will be in these ecosystems on different platforms. We set up our new initiatives in our verticals, but we also invest in other enterprises and other initiatives. We want to survive with next generation solutions. So in the future, we will talk about platform banking. About maybe like 7 years ago max, we have come a long way, but fast. Although I believe that it felt not that fast, because as an engineer, I feel that maybe we could have come this far even faster. But banks are now in a completely unimaginable, formerly unimaginable way. Sometimes we would even joke about it. Is it even going to happen? Are we going to even manage it? I'm very happy about where we are. And I'm very happy that you are among those players that helped us come this way, come all the way here. Actually, all of what we have just talked about have been very strategic. Sinem Jantuk from KPMG is a very important partner for us too. I'm just going to talk about very similar things, and here's where I want to begin. So you said maybe we've acted too fast. At KPMG in early 2020, a little before the pandemic started, at the end of 2019, we had a research to figure out what banking could look like in 2030, just like Emre said, invisible banking came to the fore. So we said that's the trend. Invisible banks will be the future, and we've already become those. So we don't need to wait for 2030. I think it's moving really very fast. So we're talking about finance as a service in this panel, and I believe that invisible banking is what is awaiting us. So we're not going to talk about just a front-end banking, and maybe we're more in the background on a platform. So experiencing a banking service without really feeling like it. So Getir was a client for us, but through Getir, maybe we could have a banking services on a delivery app. Maybe in a car, you might want to carry out banking transactions. So you're not in a bank, brick and mortar, but you would feel like you're in a bank wherever you are. We thought it would be in 2030, but already we are seeing invisible banking. I think global trends give us the same message too. And secondly, what research says to us? Competition. Competition together. So we have all these collaborations, but all research tells us that current partnerships are just the beginning of the story. So banks joining forces with Fintech, vice versa. We believe that these forces joined will have cross borders, and they're going to rise in scale, and we already see the first signs of that. I think the upcoming term will show us even bigger collaborations that turn into brands on their own. Lastly, cryptocurrencies, CBDCs are already with us. Even when we were talking about regulations in the pipeline and other things. So we believe that they're already a part of our lives. So I guess in the next 5 years, both in Turkey and elsewhere in the world, we'll see CBDCs and cryptocurrencies evolving into services, especially when we think of CBDCs. We'll see how banks will be also playing a role. The central bank also said that they are playing an active role. So how are we going to integrate cryptocurrencies? What kind of products and services are we going to create with them? What kind of advances are we expecting in tokenization? I guess all of these questions will be a part of the agendas going forward. Anything maybe to add before we conclude? Maybe I can give an example to talk about where we have come. So we're in an unimaginable place, actually. 5 years ago, we had in-house entrepreneurship competitions, but we wanted to change it. Last year, we had a slogan, do you want to be an entrepreneur in this bank? I don't think that we could imagine something like that 5 or 10 years ago. So we had this program. Our colleagues in the bank work on a single idea. Their rights and benefits are retained, but with mentorship and software support and whatever they need, they take that. They go to an investment committee with their ideas that they pitch, and they receive the investment, and they leave like that with a spin-off. Voltla and Facebook, and they received $1 million of investment from Yapı Kredi, and obviously it is connected to the banks and the PFs, and obviously there's a payment experience, and they have their own specific areas, like for example electric cars is one field, and sustainable agriculture is another one, and sustainable waste management is another one. So we are partners with TOG, for instance, with the central bank and also other international institutions. We have been working together to develop cryptocurrency services, and interest has been increasing recently. We're very happy that we started early because we've learned a lot along the way. So the activities in this area will carry on with TOG, with other strategic partners, with other banks. We'll carry on our activities. So if you want to knock on our door, like we say, we're always open for collaboration. We believe that we'll achieve even better and bigger if we join forces, both for the country and for the world. Very briefly, I'd like to add the following. We're also experiencing a cultural transformation. So we're talking about business models, but on the inside, just like Burcu said, we are talking about a new generation where we manage our talent differently, and we have new roles in our banks. For example, our new recruits experience a different banking environment, and this is a cultural and mentality transformation. I believe we in Turkey are very lucky, and I'd like to end with a hopeful note. When we think of our young population and technology adaptation, it's very high here. We're very open to countries abroad. We're very open to collaborations. That's why, because we're interacting with the ecosystem outside of us, we are very promising. We are now in the second centenary of Turkey. We are going to be exporting technologies. If we consider all of us turning into technology companies, I believe that the future is very bright for the country. And I'd like to thank you for this event, because it's very, very valuable to have these kinds of events to strengthen the ecosystem and to help grow the country at large. Sina? Well, everyone is talking about their transformation developments in-house. We at KPMG, when we think of the transformation in the finance world, have been adapting this journey too. And we restructured a few years ago. Fintech, digital finance, and blockchain now is a different team, which we lead. Our entire team is almost here. So KPMG globally did not have such a department actually that much. Why? Because we're talking about all of these services and a range of services. We wanted to make sure that we had a one-stop shop where we could offer such services that are now up and emerging. So let's design together, let's come up with strategies, let's see what kind of a go-to-market tactic do we have. Let's do this all together. Let's choose our technology partner. Let's choose the IT technologies, and let's check whether they're all compliant. Let's launch all of these, and let's make sure that they go on. So just like Burcu said, I'd like to end with the same message. If you want to knock on our doors, we're here, open to collaboration. From end to end, we are here to provide services, and we're trying our best to contribute. Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your valuable contributions.